life philosophy or motto?
Oh wow. That's a heavy one.
I like when we started with cats or dogs first.
Yeah.
Should we start with an easy one?
Yeah.
No, well, sure. Yeah.
Let's insert some teenage yearbook quote.
Yeah.
Like, live, love, laugh, live.
Okay, what are your immediate post-workout habits? Example, listening to music, taking off clothes and shoes.
Yes.
Ooh.
That.
Yeah, Dan's is also falling on the ground from what I've noticed. There's this uncanny habit of just hitting the deck.
Moaning, crying. This knee sleeves thing is huge. Like, I feel claustrophobic. Get it all off me.
Oh, yeah.
I usually like to get in my truck right away after I work out because I'm usually late for work. So that's my habit.
I'd say, yeah, taking off clothes. When I used to do jiu-jitsu, sometimes you get all sweaty and your belt, like the knot wouldn't come out, and I'd be freaking out. Like I'd run, oh, you gotta get me out, man, you gotta get me out. Yeah, I hate it.
Okay guys, this one from Anonymous says, is Dan single? He's so dreamy. 5 O's.
Nope.
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 Dun dun dun.
Okay. Are bicep curls a good exercise?
Yes. Why?
Yeah. Every exercise is the right exercise for somebody. Mm-hmm. Bicep curls are actually quite good for people who have shoulder issues. It stabilizes the front of the shoulder, and anyone who's coming back from, impingement or I don't know, not everybody. There's not always any particular exercise that's going to be great for everyone, but for a lot of people, bicep curls can be a really functional exercise. The number one cause of overall general depreciation of a person's value comes from having small biceps. So I think a lot...
Smaller the biceps, the smaller the man.
Exactly. Next thing you know, you start to engage in risky behavior like truck purchasing, truck lifting, truck driving.
Those are all good.
Yeah.
I know the only time well, not the only time I throw them in, but, and this kind of anecdotally, but if I'm doing say I had a phase where I was doing heavy strength work, so say weighted chin-ups, lots of muscle up work, I'll throw in a couple of weeks of high volume, just isolation exercises like curls, tricep extensions, stuff like that. I find to just kind of get, I don't know, cranky elbows and stuff after I do a lot of that stuff. And I find you're not doing any of those big movement patterns that we're always practicing in isolation. So arm flexion's arm flexion, and if you're having troubles with that, there's no harm in basically strengthening that.
Mm-hmm. One thing to consider too is a lot of the exercises you're talking about involve a pronated grip. So a lot of bicep curls actually give you a supinated grip, which fully contract the biceps, right? It's supposed to supinate and flex the elbow. So so that can sometimes help to rebalance someone's, almost just not necessarily looking at what particular muscle you're going after, but what kind of movement, right? If you're always spending time with your hands down in pronation like this, it tends to lend itself to internally rotated shoulders. When you're doing things like pull-ups particularly, you're using a lot of lat, which internally rotates the shoulder too. So sometimes maybe just doing some accessory work like that is good. So thumbs up for biceps.
What causes an exercise headache and how to prevent it?
Oh, yeah, I got a couple of those in my day. Mine were always tight traps into my neck, into my traps, would go up the back of my head. Thought I had a brain tumor for a while because I didn't get it treated and didn't relax. Mine was muscle related. There's exertion headaches and all that stuff too from high blood pressure. And
Lots of different reasons. But yeah, if you get on Google, probably will think you have a tumor. But there's muscle tension headaches, particularly people who are sitting in an office setting, or they're driving a lot, and then they come and they do a heavy workout where they're doing things like cleans and they're using a lot of trap, both concentrically and eccentrically, and at the end of the workout it can be just a lot of post-exercise soreness that they get in there. There's also postural considerations too. So if you're naturally holding your head a little bit more in extension, you're going to put a lot of pressure on your suboccipital muscles, which actually have some of the blood supply, some of the vasculature that goes up into the brain sits in there too. So like the vertebral arteries and everything can actually get a little compressed, and so that can give someone exercise-induced headaches. And then I think like the most common one is probably neither of those. The most common one is probably due to dehydration. So people going into a workout not really prepared for what they're going to be doing, and they end up sweating a lot. And at the end of their workout, they start to feel that like naggy, achy soreness.
Kenzie says, butt numbness sitting. My back hurts. What should I do if I want to lift?
Talk to this guy.
Just never sit. Just don't sit. No. It could be one of 100 different things, right? Anytime you sit on a muscle, you are compressing it and you're pushing a lot of the blood out. So there could be a couple of reasons for numbness. One could be that the blood supply is being choked off due to compression, or the other one could be that the nerves are actually being pushed on, and both times it's going to give you a similar kind of pins and needles feeling. The best thing to do is probably get checked out, have someone who knows what they're talking about, either a good coach, a physio, a chiro, someone, make sure that it's nothing serious, and you rule out all the red flags. But then after that, you should look and see what kind of stuff are kind of your triggers and what kind of stuff can make it a little bit better.
Get to the root of it, right?
In fact, a lot of the time when someone does have chronic butt numbness with sitting, I get them lifting. I get them to do things like some basic kettlebell deadlifts, just some hip hinges, something that gets the muscle contracting over and over again, and that draws a lot of blood into the area, kind of reinforces that good movement pattern there, and can kind of help trim some of that out.
If you were to put a hierarchy, identify the original issue, where it's coming from, then treat the symptoms? Is that kind of
because the symptoms just only give you part of the picture. Right? Like that's where seeing a healthcare professional who takes a good history, who can give you a good orthopedic exam, watch the way you move, and they can actually shed a little light into what's going on, as opposed to just a few symptoms here and there. So I'll get people sending me text messages or something and say, hey, I've got pain in my foot or my leg or wherever. Like, what do you think it is? I'm like, it could be 50 different things. So history is probably one of the best things to figure out what is going on. Like, I think they say 90% of the diagnosis comes from history alone. So usually just teasing that out helps. But that being said, if you're trying to lift, let that kind of be part of your, let that be your litmus test. Let that kind of be indication for whether or not things are getting any better. If you're lifting and it feels better and you're getting more sensation, you're getting less numbness and tingling, that can be a good thing. If you start to lift and you find the opposite, things get worse, you start getting more numbness and tingling, that's a bad thing. Stop lifting and then really go see someone, make sure that things are checked out.
Yeah. I think it's just peace of mind, especially when people are coming into the gym, because there's so many different things. We're not really kind of equipped to deal with, say, we can't diagnose somebody. So, case in point, I have this one girl, and she had actually seen you a couple weeks ago, and then she came into my class, and I just had that peace of mind, just knowing that it wasn't anything, like to really worry about, as far as, I could kind of take her through some basic exercises without kind of having that in the back of my mind that it might be actually something, that there's like no red flags because she actually took the time to see somebody first.
Okay. What is your life motto or philosophy that you live by?
I used to have a horrible one. Like in high school, they made us do that, and I was like, aim low so you're not disappointed. Like stuff like that, like just gloomy stuff.
Was that a Simpsons quote? Like, I forget what. Yeah, Homer said something like, I can't remember it,
but at the same time, I mean, life's pretty good if you think you're like PRing every day. You're like, I'm gonna have the worst day, and you have like the best day.
That's true. Mine has always been just keep learning all the time from everyone you can. There's always something you can learn from somebody.
I don't know. That's a really tough one.
Work out harder to eat more.
That's yours?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Greasy fries, skinny thighs.
I mean, that's what my life is. That's not my motto. I'm trying not to do that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have one.
We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
How can I work towards getting my first muscle up?
Strict stuff first. The requisite strength, right?
Yeah, I always like working on strict strength. So that's basically breaking it down into strong pull-up, dip, and then the transition piece. Most people are familiar with pull-ups and dips, but when it comes to that transition, it can become a little bit of a funky thing.
Right. Quite a few pretty good drills that are out there. YouTube is the best for that stuff, right? Any number of coaches will have muscle up transition videos. There's a drill that Alex was just doing that I'll put a video here or here. That's pretty good. With the band and a bar.
I normally just have them kind of like high volume, just kind of assisted, so having the feet either on the floor or on the box, and just getting used to really keeping the rings in nice and close.
Negatives?
Negatives work, yeah, I love working negatives, banded work. And I find like anything that you do pick, yeah, kind of like there's lots of drills and stuff you can see on YouTube, but just give it some time too. Like I find a lot of people kind of bounce around between a couple things, so maybe like picking a couple drills for at least.
I think doing a drill once, and then next time they're gonna get their muscle up.
Yeah, yeah, and especially with the false grip, everyone gets like really kind of disheartened right away with the false grip, and I always tell them like there's no like magic thing, like it's like literally something you're gonna try for like 2 weeks, you never get it, and then go and then all of a sudden lock it in, you're like, oh, somehow I can do it. Yeah, so it's just kind of just that consistency.
I mean, I know there's lots of good videos out there too, but I think that working with someone is a great way to get it safely too. So the biggest thing is anyone can do a movement poorly, but to do it safely and effectively, I think you need someone to take you through some of that stuff. So I've actually been working with Dan a bunch, and he's kind of cleaned mine up a little bit and helped me out, and it made a big difference. So.
Okay, final question. How long can Dan hold a handstand for?
Let's find out.
Yeah. Thing does put off a lot.
It's
Like,
really
once I noticed it, I was like, oh god.
Oh, I love when I'm warm. I can just sit here, eat sushi.